And g'day and welcome to today's live stream. I wanted to do this stream a few weeks ago with Melanie to talk about people with disabilities accessing sex workers. So, Melanie, can you? Sorry, it's an echo there. So Melanie, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey everyone, yep, my name's me. I live in Perth, Western Australia, and I acquired my disability through what they think is called a virus called transverse myelitis just before I was 2 years old. It left me paralyzed, like from a C5, C6 level. So I use a power wheelchair around every day, and I run on foot to get me in and out of bed and showered and dressed and toileted, basically. But and funding, so I have just people come and go when I need them. I'm on my own most of the time in between.
So, I read the article that you put out a few weeks ago. Yeah, and you're talking about there's something happened that you decided at the age of 43 to take that step. So, do you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, growing up, I had three younger brothers, and they all had girlfriends, and two are married now. Got two daughters. So I'm an auntie, and it just really never crossed my mind.
Oh, Melanie, if you can hear me, you've dropped out. You there, Melanie?
Yeah, I don't know what happened then. They kicked me out.
Yeah, it just dropped out. Sorry about that. So,
so anyway, yeah, I'd never had a boyfriend. Never thought I would find a man that was attractive to me. I never knew that I could enjoy bedroom activities or, take part in that. And I also had a conversation during COVID isolation last year when I got COVID for the first time in December with work. Gave me a love during my isolation period, and she was massaging my neck because I developed a sore neck sitting up in bed. Because instead of spending all night coughing laying down, I sat up to sleep, and it gave me a really sore neck. And so she was massaging me in the bath, and I told her how it made me feel, and it was really nice the way she touched me. And she said, "Do you know there's disability sex workers out there?" And I said, "Way, how do you know?" And she told me she used to be one. And I don't know, Tracy, as we'll call her. She doesn't want her real name in there. Yeah, it totally surprised me. And
I'll just ask you a question. You said you never thought you'd have a boyfriend. Can you explain why you thought that would never happen?
I guess as a person with disability, you don't see yourself as a sexual being. I'd never thought my body could be sexy. I never thought I would attract men who thought I, would want to have sex with me. And I just got busy with life and work and my assistant's dog that failed and all my different hobbies and things. I just never kind of put myself out there to find a guy who might want to be with me.
And, did you ever try like going to like nightclubs and pubs and going on the night scene?
About socializing, but I didn't have the confidence to go up to a guy and ask a guy out, flirt with someone. Yeah, it just never crossed my mind that I do that.
Okay.
And this conversation with Tracy during COVID, and she put the little seed in my head, and then I could not stop thinking about it. And I googled disability sex workers in Perth and was surprised when a website of independent escorts came up. And I had several of them, and one of Chase. Yeah, I loved his smile, and some of them didn't show their face at all. And I didn't want to contact someone I couldn't see their face for. And so, yeah, a few days later, I sent Chase an email. He called me in 10 or 15 minutes, and we got chatting, and I booked a session.
And you said in that story, the first session, it was like an erotic massage.
Yeah. So about what he offered and what I was looking for. I didn't really know what I was looking for. So he suggested the 2-hour erotic massage for the first session at his place. And so I told Tracy I'd done. She was super proud of me and surprised that I'd taken that step, and the day that she could take me. So we put my hoist in the car and drove to his place, and we'd done we'd done a FaceTime video with Chase as well. So I could see the setup of his place and what it was like, and the wheelchair access and the clearance under the table I need to check for my hoist to fit in.
Right.
And so on the day, Chase took me and my hoist and got me on the massage table and then left us to it.
So that was sort of like a get to know you sort of session, and just talk about what you wanted in the future or what you hope to achieve, or
I had the full erotic massage that day. So I let Chase undress me and then rub the oils all over me, and then slowly he got a bit more personal and erotic. And yeah, it was the first time I'd been naked in front of a man outside of a hospital. So it was a big step for me to trust someone I just met as well, and to just relax and enjoy.
yeah, well, I can only imagine how hard it would be, especially for the first time. Did you talk to your family before you decided to do this?
No, not at all. I did not want to tell my family, but I got on really well. He did state in his profile that he'd done disabled clients before, but I was the first one of such a physical disability that he'd ever had.
Right.
And just little things, like I was worried about falling off the table. Normally he starts with the lady face down on the massage table, but there was no way I was going to be able to roll on the table and get myself face down. So we compromised, and I got on my side instead. The little things that he did, when I was on my side, the table was against the wall, and every time he massaged down my leg, he pushed my knee into the wall. So he had to kind of move me, and then my hand went numb because it was underneath me, and I had to get him to move that. Things that I didn't anticipate. But it was a big learning curve for both of us. Me in sexual matters and him in disability matters. And I get a lot of spasm in my legs every time they're touched. And he's probably going to kill me for saying this, but I told him that I've got special buttons on my knees, and it just means if you press in the right spot, you can get the spasm to stop. And so I told him he's got to press my buttons, and it worked. And really, he did it as he got me back in my chair afterwards. And he said to me, "Any buttons installed?" And I just started laughing because, of course, they're not real buttons. He thought I'd had surgery to have buttons installed in my legs to stop the spasm.
Oh.
And, but it's just a pressure that needs to be applied to stop the spasm. And I just laughed so much. And it was a great way to kind of level us.
Yeah.
You know, he was an expert, as he calls himself, an expert in all sexual matters, and I'm an expert in my disability. So we had a lot to teach each other, and I found it just made us a bit more level in our expertise, and knew that I felt comfortable in his presence, and didn't quite feel as overwhelmed by it was at the beginning.
Okay.
Presents and
Yep.
and then I knew, I wanted to book him again and again and again. And I had a list of fantasies, and as left, I told him that I had other fantasies. And so the next time I booked a session at my house, because I knew I'd feel more comfortable at my house. And I knew him then. So and it's not cheap. So I have a retired assistance dog at home who likes to bark at things. And I had to clear out my spare room because I sleep in a single bed at home, but I have a double bed in my spare room. And so I had to clear that out. And I used that as an excuse to get my parents over and, to help me tidy up and put some pictures on the wall. And so when they came over, I sat them down and said, or asked them if they could have my dog for the 3-hour session of when Chase was coming the following week. And Mum said, why? And I said, because I'm having a massage by a guy. And she knew exactly then what I was referring to. And of course they said yes, and they were really happy for me. And my dad said the funniest thing is like, Mel, should I have stayed home? Do I really want to know this? And I said, well, Mum's just going to go home and tell you anyway, and you're not going to believe her, so you may as well hear it from me.
Yeah. Well, that's great that the parents and family are understanding and supportive.
And Dad was really proud, actually. He gave me the sweetest look in his eye, and I said, what's that for? And he's like, I'm just proud of you, Mel. And he said,
good.
Say, it's your life, Mel. Do what makes you happy.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
It was really lovely. Telling my brothers was a whole new thing, though, because when I decided I would go to Take 5, because the way he made me feel, he made me forget about my disability. He made me feel like a real woman. He just saw my physical, sexual needs, not my disability needs, and it just made me feel amazing, like the best feeling I've ever had in my whole life. And I wanted to tell the whole world that this service existed, and why haven't I known about it all these years? And so that's when I wrote to the Take 5 editor, and she jumped at the chance to tell my story. And
so what really meant the most to you was just being seen as a person,
as a woman first. And to know that I can experience pleasure, can experience this whole world that I've missed out on. I've never bought lingerie. I've never bought sex toys. I didn't even know women masturbated. I thought that was only something men do. It was a whole new world that had been opened up in front of me that I'd missed out on. And I'm 43 and just discovering it for the first time.
So did your parents never talk to you about that sort of thing growing up?
Well, I think my brothers got the sex talk, like don't get your girl pregnant until you get married and things like that. But they knew that there was no way I could sneak out and be with a boy in the middle of the night like my brothers could. And it's not easy for me to, sneak out when I was younger. And so it never really got talked about. It was just something, I was academic. I went to uni and I studied hard, and then I've worked part-time jobs ever since, and it's just never been brought to the front of mind. Even my mum said long ago, I wish she'd known about it to tell me. And that's why I wanted to tell my story. Other people like me must exist, and I wanted to tell them what was possible, and for them not to miss out, because it is incredible.
So what benefits now, like physically, emotionally, and mentally, did you get out of it?
I've never been happier. You can't stop me smiling. Every time I've booked a session, I've been excited about it coming up, the anticipation, what we're going to do together. But also just, confidence as well. It's been a life-changing experience. for the better. Definitely.
Yeah,
I never thought
because
I would go on a date with a guy from an online dating app, and I've been on 3 or 4 now. And I met a really nice guy on Sunday, and we're going to see each other again on Thursday this week. So, yeah,
I hope
it's
everything
just,
goes well
I've
for
never
you.
had the
Then.
confidence. Thank you. Yeah, he's really lovely. And I never thought my body would attract a man. You know, I never saw myself as sexy. I never thought anyone would want to kind of go to bed with me. They'd always see my disability as a barrier, and you know, be too hard. And why would they choose me over someone who's able-bodied?
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. People always acknowledge the disability first and the person second.
Yeah,
But
and it's normal. I put those barriers up myself, I guess. You know, the internal
yeah,
ableism is there, and yeah, that's why I never got lucky, I guess.
and all this time you, like you said, you've missed out on all this experience, and now you're going to go out and you know create those opportunities to form a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can only imagine. I mean, I think you're quite brave for coming out and talking about it. I know there's a lot of people in the community who would be frowning um, that a person with disability would want to go out and have a physical relationship, and they just don't understand that even though we do have disabilities, we still have the same needs and wants as everyone else.
Mm. Yeah, it's a basic human right, according to the World Health Organization. Sexual
Yeah,
fulfillment, enjoyment is a basic human right. And I think the NDIS should definitely fund escort services. It's terrifying wanting to go home with a guy or telling a guy my address. You know, you hear horror stories about sexual assault and violence and all sorts of things. So to do it in a safe and controlled way with an escort is just so much better for your peace of mind. And, you know, if these guys don't work out, I might have to rely on Chase and other escorts for the rest of my life. By paying for the service, you are in control at all times. And if Chase does something I don't like, I know he'll stop if I say something. And I know if I don't get on with someone, I don't have to book him again. You know, kind of thing. He's a professional. I can trust him 100% from the first day.
So you said Chase has had other clients with disabilities. Um,
Yeah,
do you know what kind of disabilities they had?
mostly intellectual disabilities or autism. Um,
Right.
he also specializes in people who've had sexual assault or trauma, and working with a sex therapist to overcome that trauma in their physical body and trust men again. So he's got a really caring and giving nature, and he'll do the best for each customer that walks through the door.
So has he got a background in social work or anything like that, or?
No, he's just a really caring, giving person. There should be more men like him. He's just incredible as a man. And
Yeah.
I mean, he's gorgeous as well. And yeah,
So do you
if
think?
only we could all fall in love with Chase. But yeah, he's a professional. I have to remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably one of the hard things too, because that's what I wanted to ask you about too. Doing accessing Chase a sex worker. Do you think there should be background checks as well as like guidelines, best practices when people dealing with people with disabilities?
Yeah, I did worry that it was a scam at first. And the website that I found him on is an independent escort website. So like they don't do checks. They're just an advertising avenue for escorts, basically. And I contacted them before my first session with Chase, and they weren't very supportive. But yeah, they just take people's money, I guess, and let them advertise on there. But there's no background checks or anything. And I just had to trust my gut feeling. When Tracy and I went that first day, we had like a safe word. And if either of us felt uncomfortable, we would just have said that and left. But Chase made me feel really comfortable from the very beginning. He's in a secure apartment building, so he had to come down and let us in. And he gave me a kiss on the cheek as soon as he saw me and totally ignored Tracy, which made me feel really at ease that I was the customer and she was just there to support me. And I mean, he acknowledged her and said hi, but yeah. And I didn't know if kissing on the cheek was the way he greeted every woman or just his customers, his clients. So that kind of put me at ease. He knew how to respond and respect a person with a disability, I guess, from the very beginning. And he made me feel welcome and showed me around his apartment and offered me water and just made me feel really at ease.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm really happy for you, but just getting back to my previous question about having for people working with people with disabilities, especially because this is issues coming up a lot more, especially with the NDIS, with best practices and all that sort of stuff. Do you think the sex workers need to be trained on how to interact with people with disabilities?
After contacting Chase, I did contact an organisation called Touching Base. It's volunteer run out of one of the eastern states, and it's a referral agency for disability sex workers and people looking for them like me. And I contacted them asking if there were other ones in Perth because I didn't want to just meet Chase, of course. I wanted to try others as well before I got too attached to one person. And they provide disability awareness training for sex workers and other services as well. And they have a database of everyone who's completed that training. And so I should have gone through them at first and not just contacted Chase immediately. But it was great knowing that there is that referral agency, and I highly recommended Chase go on their database, and they've since put that on there too. And he's linked that to his website as well. And the fact that I can claim some of his services on NDIS, he's linked that to his website as well. So people know that, he is. Well, I've given him all on the job training he needs. And even yesterday we had our 8th session together, and he said, if he ever leaves the sex industry, he knows he can fall back on a disability career and work in the care field instead.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really touchy subject with the NDIS. Have you seen Pauline Hanson's cartoon?
Yes, I was appalled at that. It's really gross.
Yeah, I asked her for an interview and she declined. And I got really angry with it because she's totally or deliberately misleading public.
Making the NDIS look terrible when it's life-changing, and I couldn't live the way I do without my NDIS funding. It's just been fabulous.
So do you mind if I ask, you don't have to answer this, do you pay for the services out of your own pocket and the NDIS pay for the supports to and from?
No, so I've seen Chase 8 times now. And the first 4 sessions I paid for myself. I haven't travelled in the last couple of years, and I had some savings, and I thought, why not spend my savings and Chase can take me to exotic adventures in my bedroom instead. And then the more I saw Chase and the more confident I grew, the more I was able to, less embarrassed about talking about it. And so I rang my local area coordinator at the NDIS and asked her if it was something that the NDIS could fund, and she said yes. Yeah, it's you're self-managed, Mel. Just put the claim in and go for it. So sessions 5, 6, and 7, I claimed from the NDIS, and Chase was able to write an invoice, and so I just paid it from my funding. But I've been doing so much media lately that's been paid, so I paid for the last session yesterday myself as well. I mean, I have to manage my own budget. I can't just book him as much as I like and run out of funds.
Yeah.
So yeah, between me and the NDIS, we've kind of gone half and half.
So what do you say to people when they criticise someone like yourself who's, accessing sex workers through the NDIS?
I was upfront with Chase at the very beginning, saying that I hoped that he was going to be a short-term plan for me. In the long term, he would build my capacity and my confidence and teach me everything I needed to know in order to get a long-term relationship with someone. And so I see it as just like an OT or a physio. He has an important role to play in like an OT or a physio, and I don't see why that couldn't be funded like any other OT or physio. You see a professional for anything that you're not sure of yourself, and so why is he not a professional that I can pay for that kind of service? And
no, I agree.
I mean, now, and I have had a few dates, and there are men queuing up actually, wanting to meet me and to do everything Chase was doing to me for free now, mutually beneficial for each other. And there's no greater feeling of having that power. And I even sent a guy a message today. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to have to put my application in. You've got all these dates now." And he wants to meet me too. It was like, when am I going to have time to meet the third guy? And it's I really love having that power now and having to choose between different guys. And yeah, it's quite good. And I only booked Chase yesterday after our 7th session. Was actually 48 hours long, so we spent 2 nights together, and it was just amazing. Sleeping in the same bed together. I'd never shared a bed with anyone, and waking up beside somebody and having breakfast in bed and doing all the normal things that you would in a relationship. And that, in my mind, was going to be the last session we'd have together. I crossed everything else off my fantasy list pretty much. But I had so many frustrations and annoyances with the dating app that I just had to book Chase again to get my fix. But in the meantime, I've met some other much better men, and so I'm hoping that would give me the confidence to keep going.
And that's the thing, like people who don't have disabilities, like Senator Pauline Hanson, they take those sorts of things for granted because they've been able to achieve those things probably, at an early age, like 18, or a bit younger, depending on the person. And to go, like you said in your story, you're 43 when, you lost your virginity. To have a whole life without having that someone beside you, like you said, waking up next to someone, people just don't understand what it's like to be isolated and to be on your own.
Yes, although he did teach me that I love my own bed. There's nothing like not disturbed sleep. I mean, I loved having him in the bed next to me, but I also missed my own bed and my own sleep. And the creature. I've been on my own for so long that it's going to take a long time for me to want to be not alone again. But yeah, I mean, if I find the right guy and the relationship develops, then I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. But
Well, see, I'm
yeah,
sort. I think I'm sort of lucky in that respect. So I didn't obtain my disability until I was my first disability until I was 25.
right.
So I was able to. I was already in a relationship with my wife. And we're going out at that stage. And I got a tumor in the spinal cord and went paralysed from the waist down, and they told me I'd
Mm,
never walk again and all this sort of thing. So I gave her the option of, breaking up. But she's stuck
right.
by me. She, she's stuck by me since 1989, and we've gone through so much together, and I can't imagine my life without her. But I sort of haven't been in that position where um, I had a disability at an early age and not knowing what it's like to be with someone. And
I
like
didn't
I said,
know what I was capable of physically. And I wish I'd known 20 years ago. Like my muscles have been sore every time I've seen Chase now. And I'm not ready for all this physical action. It's tough on your body when you're this age. Whereas yeah, if I'd known much earlier in my age, I would have aged much better, I reckon. But it's all these things that you learn when you're first with somebody.
so the
But
long-term
yeah, I mean,
benefits,
everyone sees disability.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
the long-term benefits for you, like you said, increase confidence in yourself, and seeing yourself as a sexual person, not just as a person with a disability. Um,
Mm,
it must improve your life so much.
it has. And when I think about the cost, I think, you can't put a price on the value that it's had in my life. Like, it's been a life changing experience, and it's been priceless, really. I mean, how do you put a value on seeing yourself as somebody different and having a whole new outlook for the rest of your future now? And it's just been amazing to think that it's, yeah, in such a short time too. I only met him on the 7th of January, and what is it now? It's only early May, so not even 4 months, and I've gone from no experience to, yeah, and no knowledge to, from 0 to 100 in that short time.
And do you think that's giving you the confidence to seek out that long-term relationship, like you started dating other people?
Yeah, my mum calls me a horny teenager now in my 40s. And once I've had a taste, I can't not get it out of my mind now. I just want more. I'm making up for lost
Uh,
time.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
But at this age, it's hard because any single man in his late 30s or early 40s has usually just left a long-term relationship. They've got kids. His whole world is turned upside down, and here I am being a confident, positive person, and it's a complete contrast to the types of men that are out there at my age. So I wish I'd known even 10 or 15 years ago that I could be this person.
But that confidence that you have now, that does attract other people, the opposite sex.
But
Yeah.
at my age, there's not many single men who, yeah, like I met a really nice guy, but his whole world had just turned upside down. He was now living with his brother because he's separated from his wife, and he was in a really dark place. And when he met me, I think I intimidated him a bit because I was positive and happy and excited, and yeah, it was unfortunate that the types of men that are single now at our age are not the happy, positive people that I want to attract. But I'll get there.
It takes time. I've been lucky.
Mm,
I found the love of my life pretty, at the age of 21. So
mm.
I was lucky there. But I really want to emphasise to everyone in the community, um, what the benefits. It's not just seeing a sex worker like you would see, like at King's Cross in Sydney, where there's you know prostitutes and all that everywhere. It's seedy and all that sort of thing. It's like you've done it. It's increased your confidence. It's increased your quality of life, your outlook on life. It's increased your um, or improved the way you see people around you now.
Yeah, it's given me lots and lots to talk about. I tell you that. With all my support workers, there's never a dull moment now in conversation.
Yeah, but yeah,
Also,
I think
I'm gonna say it's not just the sex. Like the sex wasn't even on my fantasy list. I thought sex would be done just between two people who love each other. I did not intend to have sex with Chase at all during our sessions at the very beginning. There was other things like I wanted to be held and dance with him. I wanted to have a bath with him. I wanted to what else was on my list? Yeah, I wanted to sleep with him. I wanted to be kissed. I'd never been kissed on the lips before by a guy. All those little things that I wanted to cross off. It was not about the sex at all. It was just wanting to be desired and wanting to know that someone could love me for who I am. And all those little moments. Like I love the way he flirted with me at the beginning. He'd rub his hand up my leg and under my skirt and and feed me strawberries dipped in chocolate. And a few times I think he deliberately spilt champagne, when he gave me a glass of champagne, and so he could lick it off my chin and down my neck, and
the
all those cute things that I'm sure he did it deliberately several times in a row. But yeah, it's
yeah
all those things that made my body quiver and got my heart fluttering, and all those little things now that I really enjoy and that I don't take for granted because I don't know when the next one's going to happen. Yeah.
yeah. And that's what I say. If you've gone through your whole life without those experiences, you feel isolated. Even though you have people around you, you still feel isolated and alone, and you don't feel complete. I put it that way.
Yeah. And it's hard, I guess, knowing that my friends have got married and had kids and my brothers too. And I just thought it was something I'd never get to experience. And I'm glad now. And I never knew what I was missing out on.
So, do you think if you found someone in the next year or two, you might have kids, or?
No, it's too late. I had a hysterectomy in 2019. So,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Yeah. But it means I don't have to worry about birth control. So that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah. My
How
gynecologist,
did?
because I couldn't manage my periods and they were getting heavier as I got older. And yeah, it was just the
Yeah,
pain causing UTIs and all sorts of nasty problems. So,
yeah, fair
yeah,
enough.
when they did the surgery, I said, okay, let's do it. It's great not having to worry about periods now and not even birth control now. I mean, I do have to practice safe sex. I don't want an STI or anything. But yeah, I don't have to worry about that at least.
So, what's the? You've told your family and all that sort of. What about people in the community that hear about what you've done and how you've accessed Chase? Do you, do you
I've
get
had some really,
people?
yeah, I've had messages through Facebook and Instagram from complete strangers who read my story online, and they've been really, really heartwarming and told me that I was very brave and thanking me for telling my story, and they really resonated with the message in it. And yeah, I expected backlash. I was really worried about having my surname in there and my location, and the trolls that would be on there. But even when news.com.au picked it up, and there was 24 comments on there, and there was only one negative comment out of the 24, and it just said, "I hope taxpayers aren't funding this." And that's their opinion. That's fine. There's a lot of people who think that, but yeah, we've spoken about the benefits, and 1 out of 24 is not bad, I think.
I think I think that's really good. But it's that minority. I wanted to do this stream a few weeks ago, but I got talking to a few people, and I've learned a few things. That there are people working in the background trying to stop this from happening. And that's why I called off the first time I wanted to do it. I was just made aware of a few things, and I just didn't want to jeopardize it. And any progress that's going to be made. The stuff that, for example, Senator Pauline Hanson's put out, she's deliberately stoking the fire and getting the reaction from people in the community who aren't aware what it's like to have a disability. It's hard enough, and to be isolated and have this opportunity where you get to experience what everyone else takes for granted.
Yeah, it's definitely provoking it. And with the cost blowout, and even Bill Shorten now saying that he's going to cap growth by 8% per year, sex workers could be the first thing that gets cut, but I don't think it should be. I think it should be in anyone's plan who needs it. And I think it's an essential service, really. No different to going to your dentist or your physio.
No, I agree, and I really don't think they will be able to cut it, because as it's been ruled in the federal court, it's a part of human rights. That woman with MS who took it to the tribunal. I mean, you'd think, when we talk about sex workers, it'd be males leading the charge, but from what I've seen, it's been women.
I think it's more socially acceptable for a man to visit a brothel or a sex worker. But I'm just glad people like Chase are in the industry, because, I wouldn't have known where to go otherwise.
And this is why I think it's important to have people registered, and so they're aware of people's disabilities, their needs, and as some people with autism or intellectual disability or brain injury, something could trigger them, and they
it might be the only way that they can access intimate services for the rest of their life. And why should they be denied that because of cost?
Exactly. But the point I'm trying to get at is that if we have a registry where sex workers can go to get qualified to work with people with disabilities, so they can get best practices and their safety guidelines for the clients and the workers, I think it's a lot better off doing it that way, moving forward, because there is a duty of care. There is that duty of care for
But every person is different, and every person has different needs, and so I was able to communicate quite clearly with Chase of what works and what doesn't, and other people might have different communication methods, and I've taught him how to use a hoist, I've taught him how to do catheters, I've taught him how to do lots of things. So he's been amazing, and there's only one thing he said no to. Every other request has been a positive yes, or let's give it a go. And he hasn't shied away from anything, which has been great. And I think that's the type of people you need more than any qualification. He needs to be able to learn from the person in front of him mostly.
Yeah. And that organisation, Touching Base, I never heard of them until earlier this year.
Mm.
I thought they would have been a lot more prominent. Maybe I wasn't looking in the right areas, but
Yeah, that was one of the
Touching,
first things that came up when I Googled disability sex worker, and I read a couple of their blogs, and but I was in too much of a hurry to find someone to go through their database. So you have to email and fill out their form, and it wasn't until after I met Chase that I went back and did the right thing, and they gave me some other people's names.
yeah, I mean, Touching Base, they have they have sex workers, they have people with disabilities on the board. It's quite a good organisation. So, but so what is your long-term goal now? You know, you want to try and find the long-term relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Someone I don't have to pay. That's my ultimate goal.
Oh, you still there? You mightn't pay money, but there's other ways of paying.
Yes, of course. Yes, I realise that. Definitely. Yes.
So,
Find someone who can mutually benefit each other physically and emotionally. Someone who makes me
so
laugh and yeah.
yes, that was what I was going to ask you. What kind of men are you attracted to?
Well, Chase has set the bar pretty high. I told him at one of our last sessions, it's like, how am I going to find someone who's just like you? He's gorgeous, he can do everything, he's fit, he's physically, and he makes me laugh. He's just the type of guy that I want. But of course I can't have him. So it's going to be hard to find someone just like Chase. But of course I'm willing to look and excuse a couple of things. I don't mind if he's not as physically attractive. But someone who can, get on with me really well, make me laugh, good sense of humor, is respectful, trustworthy, kind, gentle, takes things, in their stride, isn't scared of my disability. Lots of different qualities. I guess I don't know until I meet someone. Definitely not someone with bad teeth or prickly lips. I had a date with a 60-year-old guy. He gave me the quickest peck on the lips. And my lips hurt for like 5 like that.
Yeah, well, I haven't shaved for a day or so, but I hate shaving. I've been doing it for not too long.
He obviously didn't know how to kiss without it hurting me. And oh my
Yeah,
goodness, it's like needles. So I warn people now. If they're going to kiss me, make sure they're not prickly.
yeah, my wife, she likes it when I shave. Yeah. So, in the past, growing up with a disability, did you go to a normal high school and
Yeah.
so how were you treated there, like in high school? Like from other people, especially boys. How did they treat you?
I guess they just saw me as any other student. I didn't let my disability stop me doing much at all. I knew that I wanted to be a Japanese interpreter when I left, and so I was always studying Japanese, and I knew that I was going to go to Japan, and I went during my university years. But I had some close friends, not a lot of friends, but some close ones, and only one or two were male.
Do
But
you think having a disability do you think in your experience does that intimidate other people or does it put them off?
I think it scares them. It's not comfortable
Yeah.
asking personal questions, and I guess things take longer. Yeah, and especially at that age, they just want to get on with it, I guess, and not have to worry about helping someone and then just time gets in the way and they leave school and you get jobs and you part your ways and you don't see them again, really.
So you said you're a Japanese interpreter, is that right?
Well, I did Japanese at high school and then 4 years at uni and spent a year in Japan when I was 19. So, yeah. I did meet a guy over there who I quite was fond of, but it just wasn't the done thing in Japanese culture to date a foreigner and then let alone have a disability. He got, there was a lot of gossip going around about why he was having feelings for me, and we just kind of drifted apart because of all the gossip around us, unfortunately. And I'd love to know where he is now, all these years later, but I don't have much contact.
I mean, I've talked to people in the past and who don't have disabilities, and I've explained to them, years ago, people with disabilities were left out in the wilderness to die. Then they were put in institutions and all this sort of thing, and this is why it's so scary for a lot of people, because I'll give you a perfect example. I was out where I live. It was about 5 or 6 years ago. I was walking with someone, and this guy walked up and he said to my mobility instructor, he walked up to her and said to her, "Oh, I seen him the other day down near Woolworths. Is he allowed out by himself?"
Oh, what?
Yeah. And she goes, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "Oh, so he's allowed out?" And she goes, "Yeah." And he just turned around. Yeah, well, about 10 minutes later, we were walking back, and I started chuckling to myself. And she said, "What are you laughing at?" I said, that dickhead wanting to know if I was allowed out by myself. And she said, "Oh, he's just over there." I said, "I don't care if he can hear me. He's a dickhead." But, we still have people in the community who see people with disabilities as someone who should be put in the corner.
Or you go, you're such an inspiration. It's like I'm getting on a bus and I'm going to work. How is that different to anyone else?
Yeah. I've got multiple disabilities. One of them's, I lost my sight through MS in 98. And I said, "Oh, you're so brave, and you should be proud of yourself, and it's so wonderful." I go, "No. I'm just like everyone else. I get up in the morning, put one foot in front of the other, and just do what I need to do to get through the day."
Yeah.
But what you've done here today, and with talking about your experiences accessing the sex worker, I actually do think it's brave, and I'm not saying that to be patronising. So because
brave or crazy, a bit of both, I think.
Well,
I didn't expect the reaction worldwide. I had a journalist from the Norwegian newspaper contact me, and I did a podcast last week for the BBC, and it's just like, how has my sex life gone from private matter to worldwide news now? So I think I am a bit crazy for wanting to tell the world, but it's such an important message, and there must be the need for it, the hunger for it, because nobody's talking about sex with disability. And I thought, if nobody else is talking, I have to be the spokesperson.
Well, somebody's got to do it. I always say that, people who have disabilities now, we have to make it easier for all those people who are going to follow in our footsteps. And if we don't, we fail them. But what was the interview like with the BBC? Were they receptive or?
Yeah, really keen. And yeah, the two presenters both had disabilities. One was blind, the other has muscular dystrophy, I think, is a wheelchair user. And yeah, they were really excited. And Chase was keen to be in it with me, and it was a great conversation. And they did cut a few things out. It wasn't live, unfortunately. They cut a few things out, like how important it was for disability services to fund escorts and sex workers. But yeah, I mean, they had to fit it into the allocated time, so not everything could go in.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to write up an article for the BBC News site now, so it could get even bigger.
Yeah, because when I heard about you and your story, I just immediately went to that point of I hope she doesn't get any, throwback from it. Putting yourself out there with your name.
From work because I'm a state government employee, and I went through our code of conduct and our media policy, and it said if you go into the media with your personal story, get permission from our media manager. And I went, oh no, he's a man. How am I going to tell him? So I went through my manager, and she has a son with autism, and he's on the NDIS, and I knew she would understand immediately. And she was so happy for me. She gave me a hug, actually. And then went straight to my director and walked in his office and said, do you know what Mel's doing? Can you give approval? And so he found out through her. And yeah, he wrote back in an email and said, bravo, Mel. And yeah, I had the okay to go for it. But and I work in media, so I've had that experience. But which ones do I say yes to? Which ones do I say no to? And my director actually saw that it would get bigger very quickly once it was out. And yeah, when I walked into his office last week and he said, didn't I warn you, Mel? Didn't I say this? Like, yep, you picked it.
So if you don't mind me asking, how much does it cost to see, well, I know you see Chase. How much does it cost?
Well, every escort sets their own rates. Chase was one of the most reasonable compared to others. It depends on the length of service. So like a 2-hour erotic massage is about $200 to $250 an hour. But if you want the full service, as in, kissing and sex and everything, then you're looking at kind of like $400 an hour. But the more hours you have, the cheaper it gets. So if you want a 48-hour session, it's not going to cost $400 an hour. It's more like $100 an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not a new client for him anymore. So we every time I say, look, can I have this session for this many hours? How much will it be? And so generally, once you've gone over 3 hours, he just adds an extra hour for $250. Once you've gone, the first 2 hours at $400 or $350 an hour, then additional hours are only $250.
Right. So do you think there should be an age limit for people to be able to access sex workers through the NDIS? Should they be 18 or over, or 16 or over? Or
no, definitely. Definitely legal age. Yeah. And there's other agencies, like we've got SECA here, the Sex Education Counselling Consultancy Agency. So they support, I guess, puberty upwards for people with disabilities or disabilities. So I contacted them afterwards and wanted to find out all the bits and pieces. So I've been working with somebody there, and OTs and stuff to look at different things and educate Chase on what they've suggested. And so there's other agencies around, but if you want, I guess, the sexual contact, then you definitely need someone like Chase.
Yes. So do you see yourself going around public speaking on this issue?
It could be a whole new career for me, couldn't it?
Well, it could be,
Yeah, we'll
yeah.
wait and see. Yeah. I said to him yesterday, I actually went for a ride in his V8 Holden Commodore Ute, and that said that because I'm a writer and I went to a writing retreat last weekend, and somebody there said it could become a bestseller if I wrote about my experience, and you could see the movie even playing out, and it could become bigger than anything that I imagined. But yeah, I just have to write the book and see where it goes.
Who would you get to if you had to pick someone to play you in a movie? Who would you pick?
Oh no, I'd play myself.
Oh,
But
okay.
I want to pick a Hemsworth brother or somebody, to play the Chase. Well, Chase could play himself anyway. We could reenact it all together. I'm sure we could.
Plenty of
If
rehearsals.
they could afford him. If they could afford him for acting in it. Although it's probably cheaper than a Hemsworth brother, wouldn't he?
Ah, well, Hemsworth, they seem to be in everything lately, so yeah, you probably
Yeah.
have a good chance of getting one.
It was funny at the retreat for an icebreaker exercise on the first night. We all got a different question handed out to us, and mine was a boring question. What was your favorite book and why? But the girl next to me, she's a close friend of mine, and we see each other quite regularly for catch ups and writing. She's studying creative writing and has been a great mentor to me. And she got, if you were to write a play, what would it be about and what would it be called? And she couldn't think of anything, but I was sitting next to her, and so she wrote, a disabled woman hires an escort, and she called it Melting into His Arms.
Yeah.
Of course, Mel being Melanie. But
Yeah. Yeah.
we went around the room and she was before me, and everyone laughed. And like, how am I going to top that now? It's just,
Yeah.
you can see the credits rolling already. It makes such a great movie. And I told Chase yesterday as I was driving around in his car, that it just has to have a happy ending. He's going to have to just fall in love with me, and we'll end up being an item. How good would that be as a great book to read? But he said no, you have to make it fiction. But it's a great fiction story anyway, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think your story as it is, like I said, I'd say it'd sell a few copies.
Yes. Well, they reckon it was going to be a bestseller, and I've written about the first 5 sessions we had. I got lost track and spent too long on dating apps and haven't written about the last 3 yet.
Okay. Well, you might find. Sorry?
They're all still fresh in my mind. Like, I just think back to all those happy memories that we've made, and to think that I've missed out all my life. It always brings back a smile. In fact, I wrote a limerick for Chase yesterday. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, please. Yep.
Let me find it. There once was an escort called Chase who loved inviting women to his place. Even though he can't spell, he does his job well. Thank you for putting a smile on my face.
Well, that's a good one. I like that.
He loved it. He's like, can you send that to me? It's like, of course I can. Yeah. I'm not so good at writing poetry, but yeah, I had to do something for what could have been our last session together. So yeah, it made him chuckle. He's got the worst spelling. I think I should be his manager because I find spelling mistakes in his website copy all the time.
Yeah, well, it's I was a bit worried. I was having limerick wasn't going to start off with I knew a bloke from Nantucket or something like that. But yeah, so you're when you look back on all the things you missed out on, what would you say to a young person, who's in a similar position and wants advice? What would you say to that person?
I'd say go for it. You got nothing to lose. I wish I'd known about it years and years ago. And yeah, my life could have changed. I could have got married. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to get married now, but I mean, if I found the love of my life, then possibly. But yeah, definitely to a younger version of me or someone who liked me, definitely got nothing to lose. You might go along and hate it, and that's why I went to my first session. If I don't like it, well, you know, I've only lost $400 and 2 hours of my life. But if I love it, then I've got heaps and heaps to gain. And you just got to do it. Just pull the pin and try it.
Well, so what would you say to a young guy with a disability who's thinking about it? Same thing?
Same thing. Yeah, it's no different, male or female. Just do your research. I was so lucky that I found Chase and I was attracted to him the first time, and we got on really well together. I read an article about a young woman, Amy, who has cerebral palsy in Sydney, and she wrote a blog on Mamamia saying that she booked an escort after some frustrating and disappointing times on online dating apps, and she booked a 2-hour session, and they sat on the couch and drank wine and ate cheese, and at the end he went over to give her a kiss and she wasn't even attracted to him. So that was an expensive 2-hour afternoon tea that they had together.
Yeah.
So I've been really, really lucky with Chase that we have had great times and we have got on well together, and yeah, that I am attracted to him and he seems to be attracted to me. Well, he does his job very well and plays the part that he is. I mean, we've had some really tough conversations. I've had to deal with some tough emotions, some things that I've seen and watched on TV that have brought up some serious issues that I just had to chat to Chase about, and he's always given me amazing advice. Like, have you seen The Latecomers on SBS On Demand?
No, I don't watch much free-to-air TV.
Yeah, no, I don't normally, but yeah, you can watch it online, and it's a great show about 2 people with cerebral palsy finding love. And in episode 5, the guy with cerebral palsy gets really drunk and says to the girl with cerebral palsy that she's unfuckable, if I'm allowed to use that word.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And it kind of, you know, he was drunk and it was really a mean thing to say and he shouldn't have said it. But it really hit my heart in the middle, and to think that I have been alone all these years because people think that about women with disabilities, that we are, you know, unattractive and unable to enjoy sex. And it really stirred up some things inside me that I just had to talk to Chase about. And he was really great, and he did his homework and watched the show and understood completely where it was coming from, and the fact that he didn't mean it, but you know, there are people out there who think that still, and he said he doesn't think there's anyone who is I have to say it again, don't I? There's nobody in the world that he wouldn't want to have sex with unless they're under 16. He put that in, and they're a girl. He doesn't do men. But he says everybody deserves to feel it, and everybody is sexy in its own way, and it doesn't matter what kind of disability you have or issues you have, there is somebody out there, and he 100% guarantees that I will find someone. So yeah, and I was really scared of going on online dating apps and finding people who just want to fulfill their fetish on having sex with a disability, a person with a disability, and I don't want to be fetishized and, you know, and just as a trophy kind of thing for people. But then he flipped it around and said, well, if he's attracted to only Asian women, is that not a fetish? You know, if he's only attracted to blondes, is that not a fetish? You know, we all want to be desired, and to have a fetish with somebody and be that desirable to that sort of person, we all want that, he says. So, you know,
well, he's absolutely right. Yeah, 100% agree with everything he said. There's a comedian, Isaac Butterfield. I don't know whether you've heard of him or not. a few months ago, I think it was last year, it did like a 10-minute thing on. There was a young girl from somewhere like a South American country. Sorry. She had Down syndrome, and she was on the cover of Victoria's Secret. And he said, "I just can't stand the thought of, sexualizing someone with a disability." But like Chase said, there are people out there who would find that girl attractive, and if she's aware of what sex is, and is aware of her own sexuality and understands what it means, then why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So we've had some really tough conversations, but he's always given me fabulous advice. And he even said on the BBC podcast that you can be the most socially attractive, beautiful person, and they still get rejected on online dating sites. And even Chase gets rejected on online dating sites. So it makes me feel a lot better when I'm rejected. And people just don't turn up and back to me. And it's a cruel world out there in online dating apps. But, I just got to get back on the horse and keep going. And even a gay friend of mine put in a chat the other day, it's like, when one horse bucks, you just got to mount another.
Yeah. Well, I remember
I'm back on the horse, and I'm going to keep galloping until I find the right guy.
Oh, well, I hope you find him. I think, everyone deserves to be happy, and I think what you've done and what you said today is, I'm really happy that you've done it, not just for yourself, but for all people with disabilities.
Thank you. And hopefully I'll make it easy for you. And I told Chase that if the publicity makes him busier than ever, he's just got to make time for my bookings still. So he can get as busy as possible, always make time for my bookings.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there anyone in chat, Chris, or?
No questions?
No, I thought somebody might have in the comments might have wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, if there are comments at a later date, just flick them to me and I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I can do that. I just I wasn't sure about putting a link up so people could come up and join us in the chat, but there are trolls out there who think it's funny to come up onto panels like this and take the piss out of people, humiliate them, and then just go. So I was a bit reluctant to put that pin up there, but if anyone in chat wants to ask Mel a question, just do it. Just ask. You can read the chat.
Anyway, I've got to go. My support worker's just arriving.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining today. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate what you've done.
Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. And like I said, I appreciate everything you've done for everyone with a disability. You've opened that gate and allowing people to walk through it, to make their own decisions and step through it. It's great.
Thank you. I really appreciate your support too. Some days I think I'm crazy, but it's comments like that, that it keeps me going.
Yeah, well, hopefully, like you said, you've met someone going on a date later in the week, so hopefully something happens out of that. And if not that person, maybe the next one, but I'm sure you'll find someone.
Oh, he's really keen. He's messaged me every day since Sunday when we first met, so he's obviously pretty keen, and hopefully he's a keeper.
I hope so. I hope so for you, but even if he's not, just keep looking. You will find someone. Like I said, I was lucky. I found the love of my life pretty quick. So I was lucky in that way. But I've got family members who've been to, multiple people and still not happy. So, but thank
Yeah.
you for doing this today, Mel, and putting your message out there, and hopefully it gives other people confidence to do the same thing. And for all those people like Senator Pauline Hanson, just take a deep breath and blow it out your ass.
Yeah. I wish she could come and
Yeah.
taste for herself. Maybe I'll have to do that.
Well, yeah. Well, I did ask her for an interview, but she declined. She likes to hide behind Parliament privilege and
Well, yeah,
cartoons and
doesn't deserve anyone's thoughts, does she?
no. I thought what she done was terrible. It really
Yeah.
portrayed people with disabilities in a poor light. But I better let you go. And if anybody in chat wants to send me an email at blindadvocate007@gmail.com to ask Melanie any questions. I can pass them on and I can let Melanie give you a response back. So, all right. Well, thank you for that today, Mel. I really do appreciate your time, and I really appreciate you doing what you've done. It's a huge step forward.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, you have a good
Bye.
day, and I'll talk to you another time, hopefully.
Yes. I'll come back on when I have found love. How about that? Update everyone.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Well, that was